Right, good afternoon, year one. Now, today in history, what I'd like you to do is we're going to be doing some writing about Neil Armstrong. We have received a very special letter from NASA. Let me read it out to you. It says, Dear Year One, your teachers have been sharing with us all the wonderful work that you have been learning about space, and we are amazed at how much you know about Neil Armstrong. We have a room in our museum which showcases Neil's spacesuit that he wore to the moon back in 1969, which has become a very famous historical artifact. Unfortunately, we don't yet have much information for our customers to find out about Neil Armstrong. We're writing to ask if the children could write some information about Neil's life so we can display it with this exhibit. And there's a photograph there of Neil's spacesuit in a glass box with those famous words, one small step for man, one giant leap for mankind. And it says, I hope you're able to help us, from the NASA team. So today in history, what we're going to be doing is we're going to be writing some information about Neil Armstrong to go, and I'm going to take photos from your tapestry accounts, and I'm going to post it out to NASA so that they can display your writing to go alongside the spacesuit. And that's so that people, visitors to the museum, are able to find out more information about Neil. Now, we've been studying space for quite a few weeks now, haven't we? So we are now experts at this. So they have come certainly to the right people. So let me just share with you and remind you of what we already know about Neil. So we know that Neil is a famous American astronaut. And the reason that he's so famous and has become a really famous historical figure is because he's the first man, the first human in the entire world to walk on the moon. So here are some important facts that we might want to include when we're writing information about Neil. He was born in 1930 in America, wasn't he, in the state of Ohio. He was only 15 years old when he got his first pilot's license. That's quite young, isn't it? That's younger than being able to drive a car. After going to university, he became a test pilot and he flew over 200 different aircrafts in his time. And then, just 7 years before he actually landed on the moon in 1962, he was accepted to be part of NASA's astronaut corps in September 1962. Here, this is his first trip into space aboard Gemini 8. I think that was in 1966. And then in 1969, in July, he went aboard Apollo 11. And that was the flight that made him so famous because he was the first man to walk on the moon. Who can remember what other two individuals were with him? That's right, it's Michael Collins, wasn't it? And Buzz Aldrin. And then there, sadly, he died in 2012 in Ohio, United States of America. So here's some information about walking on the moon. We might want to include some of this information ready for the exhibit for NASA. On December 23rd, 1968, Neil Armstrong was offered the chance to command, that means be in charge, of the space mission Apollo 11. This would be the first manned landing on the moon. That means that the first spaceship where there were going to be humans in there. Before that, they just sent robots, and some of you found out about animals they sent up into space, didn't you? After months of practice and preparation, the Apollo 11 spacecraft launched from the Kennedy Space Center, that's in NASA, isn't it, in Florida, on July the 16th, 1969. Neil Armstrong, along with Buzz Aldrin and Michael Collins, landed on the moon. And Neil became the first man to step out of that rocket on July 21st, 1969, and to say those famous words, wasn't he? And the astronauts then came back to Earth on July the 24th, 1969. That might be a really important fact that we might want to share with visitors of the museum at NASA. After stepping onto the moon, Neil Armstrong was heard saying these famous words, that's one small step for man, one giant leap for mankind. And here is a picture, look, of Neil's spacesuit in the Kennedy Space Center in NASA, and that has become a very famous historical artifact, something that is going to be kept for years and years and years. Now, although Neil Armstrong has now died, sadly, this is a famous piece of history that they can keep in that glass box and preserve for many, many years. So even if you weren't born or even if you weren't alive in the time of Neil Armstrong, you'll be able to find out about it. Now you can see they've started putting some writing here on the wall. But it doesn't look very detailed, does it? They've got the spacesuit, they've replicated the texture of the moon surface on the floor, they've got those famous words on the wall. Look, there's one small step for man, one giant leap for mankind inside that glass box, and it's lit up beautifully. So all they now need is some information from us to be able to print and put up around that display, so that when other people visit that museum and they see that spacesuit, they'll be able to find out all about Neil Armstrong's life. So what I've done is I've just quickly put a few questions here that we might want to think about when we're writing. So we might want to think about, what year was Neil Armstrong born? Now, lots of you will have remembered, or you can go back through this PowerPoint. I will attach this PowerPoint as well to Tapestry. That he was born in 1930. And where was he born? That's right, in Ohio, in the United States of America. Now, something else we might want to think about is, how old was he when he first got his pilot's license? Can you remember how old he was? It's younger than the age that you need to be to drive a car in this country. That's right, it was 15. He was only 15 years old when he learned to fly an aircraft. And do you remember he flew over 200 aircraft in his time before he then joined the NASA program. So what is Neil Armstrong most famous for? That's right, he was the very first human being, the very first man to step foot on the surface of the moon. Who can remember what was the name of the first spacecraft that he went in when he flew up to space before the Apollo 11? That's right, it was the Gemini 8, wasn't it? That was the first spacecraft that he went in when he flew up into the moon. And what was that famous date that he flew to the moon? That's right, it was July 1969. Question 7, there's something else you might want to think about. Something else you might want to include in your writing is, what was the name of the mission that Neil Armstrong commanded that went to the moon? The mission was called Apollo 11. That's right, wasn't it? Apollo 11. And what were those famous words? We might want to write that in our information about Neil, mightn't we? We might want to say, Neil said some very famous words when he stepped foot outside of Apollo 11. That's right, he said, this is one small step for man, one giant leap for mankind. Another question we might want to think about is, how many other astronauts did Neil travel with to the moon, and who were they? Can you remember? That's right, Michael Collins and Buzz Aldrin. And who can remember when Neil died? That's right, in 2012. 2012. So those are some key information facts that you might want to include in your writing. Okay, I'm looking forward to seeing lots of lovely writing, and as soon as I get it, I'm going to print it out and pop it in an envelope and get ready to send it over to NASA. So make sure it's your best year 1 writing with capital letters, words sitting on the line, nice clear finger spaces, please. I want to see your sentences extended with the words and, but, or because. Okay, and don't forget that all important full stop. Or if it's something really shocking or surprising, you could use an exclamation mark. Some of you might even end your writing with a question like, I wonder if one day you will go to the moon? Question mark. Have fun, and I look forward to seeing your lovely writing.